Hi everyone, it's your girl Sydni Sharyce here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for this video. If you guys wanted to see how I specifically do my knotless braids, I will be showing you guys a little step-by-step on how I specifically part my hair, as well as I specifically do the feeding method into my hair. Without further ado, let's get into the video to see how I achieve this look. As you can see, I'm splitting my hair into two big sections. I'm going to be working the lower section first. My first row, I do like to typically have 4 parts, and as you can see, I am starting to also part and also twist the hair parts after I'm finished with sectioning. I typically like to section my hair a couple days before I actually start braiding, just because it is very time consuming on my schedule right now. So that's why I like to section prior and make sure I kind of get more of my lines and rows how I want it to be. And then I can go into the mini sections of how big and how wide I want the individual sections to be. And then as for my top part of my head, I had it cut out in like a U shape, just so because my head on the top part is a little bit more roundish, so the certain curvage might look weird if I did straight lines. But like I said, I'm just going to continue going through row by row and then section by section to see how wide and small I want these sections to be. And so I typically kind of do like a medium sized for my hair, and then I'm just twisting down. And the product I'm using, if you're wondering, is a yall mousse, just so that my hair stays moisturized within these twists. And so starting on the top part of my head, I have to make sure that it's straight, because most time it is very crooked. And I like to make sure I have it kind of even within the parts. And then I'm going to continue going, sectioning it off and then be able to twist it out. And for the hair I'm using the Expression Pre-Stretch Braid in the color 4 and 58 inches. And this is typically the size I use of the hair when I'm feeding it in my braids. I also am trying the As I Am Rosemary Water, and so I'm just making sure I moisturize my hair before I start to braid it in. I am also using the Shine and Jam Conditioning Gel so that I can make sure I section out my hair properly and make sure that certain sections have that all covered on 4 parts of it. And so now I'm going to start with the braid. So I make sure I have 3 pieces from that section. I have to use my middle finger every time I'm grabbing any piece of hair. So you can notice I'm using my middle finger to grab that piece of hair out there. And so I'm going to keep doing this until I get a couple braids in, and then that's when I'm going to start doing my feeding method. So the hair that is on top, there's a hair in between my index and middle finger, and then there's one in between my thumb and index. So I'm placing the first strand between my thumb and index finger and taking that outside piece and bringing it over to the back of my hand where that hair piece is. And so I grab that all together, and then I'm going to use my middle finger to grab the index hand and then middle finger again to grab that hair, if that makes sense. So I'm just re-grabbing with my middle finger to make sure I lock in that hair piece. And I keep re-braiding until I get to my hair that has no extra feed in with it. So that is when I start to add in the second piece of hair. So it's doing the same thing. I'm adding it onto the back side of my hand, using my middle fingers to grab the piece of hair and making sure I can braid all the way down. And I typically like to do for each braid either 5 to 6 feed-ins. It really just depends on how long I would like the braid to be. But it really definitely takes some practice to learn how to kind of know where your hands are doing in that sense. But I always think of when I'm doing the feed-in that there's 3 parts to it. The hair adds into the thumb and index, and then it grabs over to the back side of the hand and then starts to braid it into the braid. So hopefully that makes sense. But if you guys have any questions or concerns, please feel free to comment down below, and I should hopefully have the answers to help you. Also, when I start to get towards the bottom of my actual hair, I like to use more of the Shine and Jam just to make sure it's secured and locked inside the hair pieces. Once all my braids are finished, I also typically soak them into boiling hot water just to make sure that ends are sealed and none of them are going to unravel, which they typically don't, but just to make sure there's no unraveling throughout this process. But honestly, practice makes perfect, so keep on practicing if you're trying to learn how to do your own hair. I promise, once it clicks, and it's such a beneficial experience and skill to learn and how to do for yourself. And here are the final knotless braid results. I really like how they turned out this time. I typically have them in for a couple weeks or so, but they definitely are a good protective style. And that is pretty much the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today to see how I got these beautiful braids. If you have any additional questions, make sure you guys are dropping comments down below. Also, make sure you guys give this video a like and make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel so to join the fam. But if you guys stay to the end of this video, thank you so much. I really appreciate you, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.